Hello and welcome to another edition of the Schmozcast. I am Anthony in the studio at 103.5 The Sun, WLSP, LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, along with Aiden, Andre, and Chandler. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing excellent tonight.
I'm doing wonderful.
And I'm feeling glorious.
All
That was
right.
loud.
You're good. I'll adjust to you. You guys are doing good. Okay, last night was Smackdown 1000. Let's go around and get your overall thoughts of the show, and then we'll break it down a little bit more as we go.
I thought it was a decent episode of Smackdown. I don't know. Kind of felt like it was kind of all over the place, and it was good in some parts, and some parts I didn't care for too much. Some segments kind of felt like they dragged on a little bit. So,
Which one are you talking about specifically?
kind of the opening segment and the segment with Evolution, as awesome as it was, those two kind of took up a lot of time, I thought.
Okay.
I enjoyed the show. I do think that it should have been 3 hours long, with it being a 1000th episode. But I liked it. I do agree with Chandler that those two segments did drag on. The Evolution segment I'm okay with because, I was okay with both segments, but that segment dragging on I'm okay with because it was a really cool segment. But overall, I did enjoy the show, and I'm glad I watched, as I am most weeks when I watch SmackDown.
Yeah, it was kind of a little also mixed for me where I think 3 hours might have been too much, but I would have settled for like maybe 2.5 hours, maybe have like one more match in there instead of just like having the show go around just segments. But the Rey Mysterio and Shinsuke Nakamura match was really fun to watch. Those two go at it, and it's fun to see Rey Mysterio like in a ring one-on-one again after this while, and after the great stuff that he's done in the independent scene. That kind of style come back into a WWE ring is nice to see. And I'll agree that the opening segment went on a little too long, and I really liked the Evolution segment, but Dave Bautista did talk for a little too long, where he could have shortened it just a little bit. But I did like the stare down that he and Triple H had, almost like they're hinting at something.
What do you guys think, WrestleMania coming up?
Why not? I'd love to see it. Batista and Triple H, WrestleMania.
Okay, last week we talked a little bit about some of our favorite SmackDown moments or matches. Did anything get updated for you last night in terms of a video package that reminded you of something, maybe a little Billy and Chuck wedding, or anything like that? Anything that came to, that you didn't think of before, that once you saw some memory or moment or video package, you're like, oh, yes, that was awesome.
I don't necessarily think that there was something that I saw that I was like, oh, I forgot about that, because everything I clearly remembered. But the Billy and Chuck segment, that was when I saw the little clip of that and the picture of that, that kind of jogged my memory. It was I have mixed feelings on the angle just because of how they duped Glad and all that. But the reveal of who was behind the minister, classic. It's a great segment.
Yeah, there wasn't I guess it was like a highlight reel, but it did remind me that the best SmackDown theme was Let It Roll by Divide the Day, which I'm glad that when I got into wrestling, that was the main theme. But as for, there wasn't really any memories because I didn't have any to begin with, but thanks to WWE, they actually uploaded the Edge and Eddie Guerrero match to their YouTube channel, which I thought was appropriate since we talked in depth about that being one of the best matches on SmackDown, which I happened to watch as well. And I have to agree that is an absolutely excellent match.
Did either of you watch it?
No, so wait. After we talked about it last week, it got added to the WWE Network, or it was
The
spotlighted.
YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube.
okay, I gotcha.
The full match on YouTube.
I gotcha. And was that kind of an addition onto that Eddie Guerrero YouTube thing that WWE did, or is that a separate thing?
It might have been just a SmackDown thing to promote 1000.
I think it was separate, but I haven't yet to see that YouTube thing too that you reminded me of. I'm thankful you said that, because I definitely have to see that as well.
Yeah, a lot of good reviews so far, at least from other wrestlers. I know we're not going to say anything bad anyway, but they don't have to say anything about it if they didn't want to. So any other highlights and lowlights, or maybe a return that you guys didn't see coming? And also, in this comparison to the 25th year of anniversary of Raw, I figured that this would kind of be in the shadows of that for the year anyway. So did you guys sense any of that they kind of already blew their load, so to speak, on a Raw 25?
Yeah, it kind of felt that way. I don't know. It was, it's a big deal. It's a huge milestone, but it still didn't feel like how big of a deal they made Raw 1000 and Raw 25, both, episodes of those. So, yeah, I guess so.
They unfortunately did treat it like the B show.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I felt it was a good show, like I said earlier, to open our show, but I do feel like they did not give it they didn't give it what it deserved as far as length and prestige. I mean, they hyped all the moments throughout the show and all that, but it just felt like another episode of SmackDown with a big segment in it, that being the Evolution one. But it didn't. I mean, there was the one title change, but I don't know. I had fun watching it and I was entertained, like I said earlier, but it didn't get the proper respect it deserved for being a 1000th episode.
Why do you think that is? Just too much going on in the company overall, and they're kind of spread thin in some ways with all the different shows, pay-per-views, Crown Jewel, and Evolution, and everything else going on with the new UK show, everything going on.
That might be part of it. I think that really might be part of it. I was going to make a silly statement about they're all focusing on how to give themselves good press for going to Saudi Arabia still, but I think that they're just kind of spread thin. They've got so much going on right now. And I don't know. As a SmackDown fan, I feel a little disrespected, to be honest.
It's also unfortunate that they couldn't even get The Rock, the guy who pretty much started the whole show, they only just showed a tweet from him and not even a video package that John Cena did.
Yeah, you're right.
Just a tweet from the man who coined the term himself.
That's a good point, and I think he was the first guy to ever be on SmackDown also. I think he was the first person out in that debut episode in Kansas City, because I think it was just a few months after Owen Hart died, and it was in that same arena just a few months later starting SmackDown. But Chandler, was that pretty weak of them not to get The Rock, who is probably the most sought after man?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% would have thought that The Rock would have been on this episode of SmackDown, but as Aiden pointed out, just to show just a tweet, to not have any kind of, not even a video or anything, it kind of sucked.
Another thing that kind of irked me, I mean, it's The Undertaker, he can do what he wants, but his entrance was longer than his promo. He came out and said, I think, one sentence and left.
Which he said the previous night on Raw.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I didn't watch Raw. But yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, I understand his entrance is a huge deal, and that's almost as big a draw as him. But it was just weird for him to come out and say that and leave. Makes me wonder if that Evolution segment went a little long.
That's why I could have used more time. Then he could actually cut a really good promo then. But they were really stretched for time because as soon as he came out, they only had 3 minutes left on the air.
Yeah.
Okay, so the show ended with Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it sounds like he was booed for referencing the Crown Jewel.
Yep.
So, what do you guys think about this? Is this not going to happen?
Sounds like it's going to happen unless they're told by the government, or someone else that they cannot go.
There was a tweet about what should they do instead. Suppose they're not allowed to, but let's phrase it this way: if they have to move it to somewhere, what would you guys like to see happen if they are going to keep the same card and everything, but just move it? Is there a certain place you guys would like to see it? Personally, I think Madison Square Garden would be pretty cool, but I know those shows never get put on the network. But I think that would be cool. But I imagine they'd keep it somewhere overseas, probably.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in the UK. Now that they're they have roots there, possibly somewhere in the UK.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. UK or somewhere. I really like the idea of keeping it overseas if they were to move it. So I think somewhere UK or some. It doesn't even have to be UK. I don't know where would be a logical place, but yeah, anywhere but Saudi Arabia.
Aiden,
I like the idea of putting in the UK because then you can even fit in a NXT UK match to promote the brand new series that they have.
there you go. Any other final thoughts about SmackDown 1000? Do you think we're more so that WWE is more about year anniversaries than episode anniversaries, and this kind of just crept up on them in some ways?
Maybe, but there is a lot going on for them right now. So
What about Raw 1000? How was that? Does anybody remember? I have
I
that
do.
on DVD.
Yeah,
I just
no,
can't remember.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was a fun show. They pulled out more stops for Raw 25 and using the other Raw arena. What is it? It's what's the original Raw?
Hammerstein Ballroom.
Hammerstein
was it?
Ballroom. Yeah, is it? Is that right?
No.
That's
ECW.
also in New York though.
No, that's not ECW. What? I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, we'll grab
Put me
it.
on the spot, buddy.
Sorry, pal. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that Raw 1000 was okay, but I think Raw 25 has been their biggest one. But Raw 1000, it seemed like they made a bigger deal longer beforehand, and I mean, I guess at the time too, they were still doing throwback Raws, so maybe it wasn't all that different than one of those in some ways. But moving on, we've got this World Cup deal. Who wants to talk a little bit about this?
The World Cup, or as Rusev said in a tweet today, since it's almost all Americans, shouldn't it just be the U.S. Open?
That's pretty good. Who's all okay? Who all do we have for the Raw Cup or the U.S. Open? World Cup.
The World Cup. John Cena.
Kurt Angle.
Miz, no, not Miz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Miz.
Miz. Yes.
Kurt Angle. John Cena. I know
Seth
Rey Mysterio
Rollins.
is the only non-American. Yeah, Seth Rollins. Is Dolph Ziggler in it?
Yep,
Dolph
Ziggler, Rollins, Miz, Hardy,
Hardy.
Orton, Mysterio, Kurt Angle. So wait a second here. Rey Mysterio is borderline. Like literally. What the hell?
Manhattan Center, by the way.
Manhattan Center. Thank you. God, that was going to drive me nuts. Hammersmith sounded right because that is another New York arena. I think ECW has actually run shows at both. But holy cow, this is, what a silly thing. And why wouldn't they try and make it more of a...
I mean, I think it's because this was originally, and maybe it changes, but this is what they want. They, as in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with it being called the World Cup, they wanted their own World Cup since Qatar or whatever the country, and this is, I think it's Meltzer that said this.
Yeah.
Whatever the country that got the World Cup
Yeah.
is like sworn enemies with Saudi Arabia. I don't know foreign politics. that
Really?
much. So they wanted their own World Cup, and they kind of, these are the people that they mostly wanted in it. But this is all just rumor and innuendo. But that's the only thing I can think of, and that's what I would imagine because they're the ones who are paying WWE to do this.
They're the bookers this time.
They wanted Shawn Michaels and they got him, so it wouldn't be a stretch to say that these are the guys that they wanted in this World Cup.
Let's redo this. Let's pick a guy from a different country. Let's say you can't pick more than one guy from one country. So is there someone here you would keep for the United States? Is Rollins or Ziggler the guy, or would you expand it even
Kurt,
upon that?
It has to be Kurt.
Kurt Angle, yeah, that's good. What about bring back the Patriot? Mexico, I think you go.
I think you'd get rid of Ray and put Cien.
I like that too. I think that's better. Canada now, what would you guys do there?
Can't do Kevin Owens.
Can't do Owens. Zayn is out. Jericho's doing a lot of different things. Who's another current Canadian superstar you could choose? Jinder Mahal.
No, Jinder Mahal would be from
Bobby
India,
Roode, I
dude.
guess.
I know.
You'd have to put him in
Bobby
there from
Roode.
India.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good one. Okay, let's go to the UK. Would you do just that? You wouldn't do the UK as a whole. I feel like you'd pick someone. So let's say Balor for Ireland. You'd go with Drew McIntyre as another one.
Mm-hmm.
For England, who do you guys got? Where's Mandrews from? He's
Zach
Welsh.
Gibson. I got Zach Gibson.
Zach Gibson. Okay.
Liverpool's number one.
Over.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I don't even know who you're gonna say, but
I was gonna
I
say
love
like a
Gibson.
Pete Dunne.
Yeah,
Pete Dunne's champ
that's who
though.
I was. That's
You
what I
can't
was
put.
thinking.
I don't think you
True.
can put a champ in this match.
Okay,
this
Bate-
tournament.
We
Bate
have
would be
the
good.
Intercontinental and a tag champ in the match.
Well, he's talking about if we're doing it our
Yeah.
own way.
I'm saying but we're
Right.
going that no championships don't matter in this match.
In my
So-
tournament, I don't want champions in it.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
I'd go with
Sorry.
Pete Dunne though because that's
Yeah.
that's
Because he'd be the
Marquee
best to
value right
represent.
there.
Okay. What else is over there? Who else are we missing here? Australia, you could go with Murphy, right?
Oh yeah.
I
you
guess
have to.
we're pushing close to 8 here.
Jinder for
Jinder,
India.
I think would be a great one. I think you gotta have. I guess you gotta have Cesaro. You could put Sheamus instead of Balor, but I think you go with
No,
Balor. You go with Rusev, of course.
Oh, this could be so good.
See, I wish that was the case. I think that would be a lot more fun. And if they did this at I mean, because there's so much going on, I don't know if people don't really seem to care about this. That seems to be a lot of the Twitter backlash, so to speak, or reaction, I should say. But if this was in place of the King of the Ring and happened in like June or July, I think this would be really cool, especially if
World Cup,
it had the more international flavor and it can be a trophy that somebody wins every year. I think it might even be more important than, because we never hear about the Andre the Giant really outside of late March and early April.
I think two things. I think if this is something that they could do, maybe next year they could fix it in a sense and do a real World Cup, and then maybe it could become a thing. But this should be really important. Everyone on the roster should be dying to be in this tournament, because I don't know if you guys know this or not. Someone may have told you, but if not, I'm here to tell you. The World Cup is to determine the best in the world.
I did not know that. What a surprise!
Right? So, who wouldn't want
It's not like
to
I
be-
suffer through 3 hours of them saying that every
Who
Monday night.
wouldn't want to be involved in the World Cup to determine the best in the world?
How many better circumstances? I think everyone would.
How many bests in the worlds are there? Don't we? I feel like we already have too many titles. I know we've gone through this before, but now they're adding a few, which I think all of those UK belts are better than their respective WWE counterparts. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
All of those are pretty great. I'm going to have to
yeah.
bring those up real quick here. But what did you guys think when you first saw them?
I loved them.
Thought the exact same thing, that they look like actual like wrestling belts and not like WWE's, I don't know, more
Simple designs.
Simple-
These look like actual championship
Yes.
belts, like prestigious.
yes. The tag
like
titles
gold
are,
that would be fit for royalty. And then you just got the Universal Championship, which is just a W on some red leather.
It is pretty weak, but I liked. I really think all these are the best titles of their of the kind in all the company. Like I like the NXT ones, pretty good too. But man,
So are we all in agreement that the main UK championship is the best looking title in WWE?
Oh, absolutely. It has been since it came out.
Yep, I agree, hands down.
Absolutely.
Aiden, what about you? You got anything that's going to rival this?
I like the Intercontinental for nostalgia reasons.
And
But
that's
the
fair,
best
and that's
design
fair.
is
Yeah.
clearly the UK Championship.
And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you guys. If in terms of main roster belt, is it IC, and is that mainly because it is a beautiful title. However, the history of that look and being on the white strap.
And the guys that have held it.
Especially that, yes.
Does the look of a title change, in your guys' mind, the prestige of that title?
It has it doesn't.
Yeah,
It influences it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it changes it. It definitely influences though.
I think
because
sometimes
the nostalgia of the current what is the current Intercontinental Championship belt. It makes me care about it more for sure.
Okay, so if the Universal title looked way better than it looks, would you guys care more about it? Just if that was the only thing changed?
And
it's
if Roman
still
didn't-
called Universal though.
And if Roman didn't carry it over his shoulder, so
If they
couldn't even
changed it
see
to Raw and SmackDown World Heavyweight Championships and they changed the look of it, but they kept the booking the same, would it change how you view the Universal Championship?
No, I don't. I guess I don't like the idea of Raw or SmackDown being in the title, in the name. So
So if they just change it to
yeah,
something else.
but I also
and
don't.
change
I don't
the look.
necessarily like the word universal either. But the belt itself is awful, and I think it could be vastly improved by looking different and still being called universal. But if you change the name, I think the belt would still that belt and that look would still suck. But yeah, I don't know what other changes you guys think that would help. But when I look at the New Japan titles, like
Oh my.
they are it seems like they mean so much more because they do look like championship belts. Like the WWE current versions, I don't know. They look like rings with belts attached to them,
Well,
right?
let's
Let's
talk
ahead.
about the main four.
Okay.
The Universal, the WWE Championship, and the Women's Championship. They all have the same basic design.
Yes, and I will give those thumbs down.
Exactly. So when I got into wrestling, my favorite title was the big gold belt, the heavyweight championship,
Still
which
my
was
favorite.
which was completely separate from the WWE championship. So both titles held great meaning since this was the best in this division, this is the best in this division. See, in this nowadays, now you just have either your choice of red or black.
Yeah, and I'll take the black, but even that I think is not enough gold. But the big gold belt, I think, is that almost always going to go down as one of the best belts of all time. Benoit's got it.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
He has that and the
Attitude Era.
one,
WWF
the Chris
Championship.
Jericho when he was the first undisputed champion by beating Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night. But yeah, the big old belt's still my favorite, the best looking one, and still, despite the WWE narrative, the big gold belt is the most prestigious belt in professional wrestling history, based on if you count the lineage of the NWA Championship with it, because you kind of have to, I think. But that's
And
just me.
WCW as well with that its run there.
Yeah, really, it's been the main belt for the three biggest wrestling companies, dating back to, I don't know, the 50s. Okay, what else we got? Anything from Raw, Aiden, that you wanted to talk about? Any gripes?
Yeah, this was like the first time I actually had to mute some segments because I couldn't stand them.
Oh,
You talking about Bliss and Mickie James?
Yes.
All right, tell me about this.
Well, I didn't hear it.
Why? So why?
there you go.
Oh my goodness. Anybody else have any input on this? It seemed like people were calling this one of the worst segments of Raw ever.
I didn't even know what.
Up there with Bailey, This Is Your Life, another Alexa Bliss.
I'm just hearing
and-
about this now. Does anyone know what happened?
I didn't hear anything
I
about
looked,
this.
I didn't
Aiden,
hear.
what did you think they were saying?
Just Alexa.
That's fine.
Just yeah.
Someone have an update on the Kevin Owens injury?
Looks like it's like double legs. The recent picture just showed it both his legs and big casts or whatever. So not looking too good.
And he tweeted out 2-for-1 special at the surgery store today.
Was it both his knees?
Both legs were
Oh
from
man.
Yeah.
ankle to wherever the camera cut off were all
Covered
wrapped
up.
That's
So
terrible.
it's unfortunate. And I know that was the surgery kind of planned, or was this a thing that came up? 'Cause if it was,
Well, it happened, and then they wrote him off television by turning Bobby Lashley heel, which
Okay.
also it's still annoying because I like Leo Rush, but I don't want him to have a microphone.
does before you get to that, actually just go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's nothing much else to say. I like Leo Rush as a wrestler, but I don't want him to have a microphone.
Did the Kevin Owens injury happen after he came back from his quitting storyline?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Okay,
think it
darn
happened.
it.
Either it happened at Australia, or I think it might have happened at the Super Showdown.
That would have been perfect if he would have
Because
quit.
the next
and then
night
left,
it was on
got
Raw.
surgery.
Well, no, on Monday
came
on
back.
Raw he got written off television.
He didn't get killed off, though, did he?
No,
They did that to
written
Vince
off.
McMahon once.
And look how that turned out.
Yep. Back forever.
Dancing on SmackDown.
That bastard is a
break.
hologram.
He would never die.
He dances well for a dead
never
guy.
die.
Let's talk about this Austin Aries stuff. The no-sell after the finish of Bound for Glory. You guys just told me about this, and I checked it out on YouTube, and this is pretty nuts. It seems like there's people on both sides on whether or not this was a storyline incident, I guess, for Aries to continue outside of TNA since his contract is now over, supposedly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me when I originally saw it happen. It's hard for me to take it not as storyline, or to take it as storyline. I think it it looked like it was like a legit moment. Austin Aries gets hit with Johnny Impact's finisher Starship Pain and gets covered 1, 2, 3 and gets up before Johnny does, and gets onto the apron and starts. You can see him just yelling and pointing at Don Callis, who is, what position is, I don't know. He's a higher
Vice
up
president?
in vice, something like that. I think he's the vice president of Impact, and
TNA's
he's also the commentator, one of the two commentators, and he's just on the apron yelling at him, and he walks up the ramp and flips just throws up two birds. And yeah, as you kind of mentioned, his contract is apparently up, so it kind of seemed like he just walked off and left the company. And Andre was telling me that he supposedly was planned to be written on TV still, so they had to change that on the fly, basically because he straight up just left from there and hasn't, done anything with them since. So just the way he got up and all of that makes me think that this isn't a work, and that it was a pretty terrible moment. I kind of feel like it tainted, or I don't want to say it tainted, but it disrespected Johnny Impact in his moment winning the world title. Like that's a big deal. It doesn't matter. You can say what you want about Impact Wrestling, but winning a world title is a big deal in the industry, in the business. On that stage, Bound for Glory is pretty much TNA's WrestleMania. It's like their biggest show of the year, and for Austin Aries to do that in that moment kind of sucked to see.
Unless this is 100% a work, that was incredibly disrespectful of him, I should say. And I've lost a lot of respect for someone that I really, really enjoyed watching his work. And now that's kind of tainted a little bit, because on top of that, he's had a few issues where he's been on Twitter kind of not the nicest in his replies to people. But also, I don't know if any of you remember, one of his first matches back to the Indies after leaving WWE, he, after a match, basically came out and trashed the ring. When I say trashed, I mean he talked bad about the ring that he was performing in, and kind of just killed the mood of the crowd, and just kind of walked off. And X-Pac, or I believe Six-Pac as he is in the Indies, had to kind of like cover for him. So I don't know. It just, the more things I hear about him, the less respect I have for him, and that kind of stinks, especially since he's from Wisconsin. It kind of makes it a little bit more disappointing.
I have no personal point on it because I don't really watch TNA or Impact, but it is kind of upsetting to hear, since TNA / Impact has been kind of on the rise, where it's like getting a little better in quality. Since when I got into wrestling 2009, like TNA was like a joke. Like it was like the D show at best. And so it was like, and obviously with the big explosion of like indie wrestling in the past few years, it's great to hear that TNA has been taking advantage of that and really been kind of headlining the indie scene. And it's unfortunate to see that their former champion just kind of just walks off and just makes everything look bad.
Don Callis is the executive vice president alongside Scott D'Amore in Impact Wrestling. I can't help but call it TNA. I'm trying my best, but it comes out either way. And then I feel bad when I start Googling Don Callis TNA position. It just sounds inappropriate. Okay, a little bit more about this Evolution segment. Is this, you guys think this is like sign, seal, deliver, Batista and Triple H at Mania? And I'm not a Batista guy, but I actually would want to see this. And I think it'd be nice to see Triple H fight somebody younger. It just seems like it's not very often. He's always taking on the old guys coming in and beating them. But I'd like to see Batista come back actually for a little run against Triple H.
I would love to see that, and the way that they teased that in the Evolution segment was definitely the best part of it all. Just the stare down between Triple H and Batista, but then they still hug, and the camera then cuts back to Triple H's face, and he's kind of like, the smile on his face is gone. He's kind of just cutting his eyes at Batista like, I wish you would, just just that kind of look. That would be fantastic, and I really hope that this was the beginning of that.
That entire segment, there was so much tension. Did you see?
I have not seen this yet.
Do you want us to?
Yeah.
So
man.
there was,
Lay it
from
on
the
me.
get-go, Randy Orton kind of threw a couple shots at his teammates, little tiny ones. And then they all talk briefly, and then Batista gets the mic and he talks for quite a while. And then towards the end of it, he gives props to all three of his Evolution teammates, one after another. He calls Randy Orton, talks about how Randy Orton he knew he was a star from the moment he laid eyes on him, how he's conquered and done this and that, et cetera, et cetera. Went to Ric Flair and pumped him up as the 16-time champ and all that stuff, and made a very non-PG reference to what
To Space Mountain, let's say that.
yeah, it's something that's talked about a lot between Bruce Pritchard and Tony Schiavone, if you listen to their podcast at all. But he mentioned that, and then finally got to Triple H and really hyped him up, basically said, "You are the business." Talked about all his accomplishments, his title wins, and then ended it by saying, "There is nothing you haven't done in this business except beat me." And then Triple H's smile just fades, and he gets this look, and Flair is trying to play peacekeeper, and they all eventually hug and laugh, but there's just like the tension was just
Randy
thick.
Orton's in the background, just instigating,
That's
just
the best part.
just with his look on his face. Like a kid in the lunchroom that's watching a fight that's about to go down. That was Randy Orton. It was great.
There was
Randy
tension
Orton.
throughout the whole segment, and I love that because I felt it like, ooh, something's gonna happen, and then the end was just like, yep, payoff.
Randy Orton would be like the kid in the lunchroom who not only tries to make them fight, but also records it once they actually start fighting.
Yep.
Yeah, but his facial expressions are meme worthy enough as in of itself, and that was the best part of the segment, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because while Batista and Triple H are staring each other down with like darts in their eyes, like you see Randy Orton cheesing it in the background.
And then Flair in the middle of them too, just softly hitting his arms, trying to get them to like, okay, relax, guys. It's good stuff. That's why they're so good at what they do.
All right, I want you guys to fantasy book a new evolution. It's going to be, you're going to pick 3 wrestlers in WWE. It can be any
Not
NXT. Well, I'm getting there. You're going to pick any 3 wrestlers from NXT, SmackDown, Raw. It doesn't matter. You can handpick them from anywhere, UK, whatever it might be. The legend can be from anywhere. So the Ric Flair spot, you're picking from anyone that you want to come back who could still occasionally maybe wrestle, but the other 3 you'll pick from WWE in any way. So how are you guys going to book it? So it's kind of like Triple H being, who's your Triple H, your guy who's a championship contender, and then who are the next 2 prospects, or could be a tag team or IC US level, but also on the rise for potential championships. So Andre, I want to start with you.
Start with me. Darn, this is tough.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I figured you might put HBK as your Ric Flair.
That's what I'm going to do.
And that's what yeah.
And I think doing that, I have to put Gargano as my, not necessarily Batista, but maybe my Randy Orton, although he's not an up-and-comer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the spot I'm trying to think of as the up-and-coming spot. But there's a connection there. So Shawn Michaels and Johnny Gargano. And
For those who only watch WWE, Raw, or SmackDown, I think that Johnny Gargano could easily be considered an up-and-comer.
Okay.
Which might even be your most amount of wrestling fans, probably.
Yeah, I would think so. And then for the current superstar, maybe I like AJ, but then again, I want to see the AJ Shawn Michaels WrestleMania match, so it'd have to take place after that if this hypothetical group was happening. But if not, Daniel Bryan fits the mold of the current star. And then the Batista.
Who's your powerhouse? Who's your Batista here? And you don't have to necessarily go that route, but let's see what you got.
Jeepers.
Would you go with a McIntyre maybe? Or do you go even bigger? Or wider?
Part of me wants to say Lars, but I just don't see. But Lars just does not fit.
I you know what? With that particular
With that
group,
particular
okay, that's fair to
group.
say. But I think him in the Batista role is actually spot on. I think that's really good. I didn't think of that, but I think that's on the money
Some
there.
of the bigger brutes in in WWE. I'm drawing a blank here.
You could say that. I mean, I don't know if you want to go with Rusev or Big E, but I think those guys could be because the big guys aren't as big
Can't
as
be
they
Big
used to
E
be.
because-
I would definitely say both of them
yeah.
would fit that slot.
Okay, yeah,
Not Big
and
E.
I just like
Can't break up New Day, pal.
Yeah, all right.
If any of you break up New Day, there's gonna be.
You gonna quit the show?
No, but there's
Come
gonna
on,
be
man.
some hell to pay.
we got folding chairs tonight,
Yeah,
so stay tuned, folks.
It's always a plan B.
That's right.
I think I'll go with McIntyre. I like that, but I just see McIntyre with too much solo star power at the moment that he.
Well, everyone in Evolution certainly
you're
had
right.
their. Everyone
You're
really either was or became a star. I think in Evolution.
Yeah, so I think you got to go with Lars. I think.
All right. I actually like that because he's an up and comer. He's a huge dude, like freakish body and strength, similar to a Batista.
And so then I'm
going
gonna
to
have Daniel Bryan instead of AJ because I just think the funny interactions that Daniel Bryan and Lars Sullivan could have as a team, as buddies, could be really funny.
Okay. Chan, what are you thinking here? So who's you want to start off with your veteran or where do you want to go with here first?
My vet is the hardest one for me to decide right now. Oh, you did not just step
got
on
a lot of good push off the folding chairs.
My
Oh, it's in my nostrils already. Wow, that was really loud, and that was so far. That was still probably a foot from microphone to you know what? So the sabermetrics on that fart are just insane.
I'm missing the Spurs season opener for this. Jiminy crickets.
Gosh, I can't. I'm gonna use that as a drop. I'm lucky something didn't drop.
You just did drop something.
Okay, so if you're having a hard time with your legend, what do you have? What do you kind of have penciled in for your other positions in your new wave evolution?
I like Drew McIntyre, but in the world champ slot. I would run with McIntyre right now. It just makes absolutely no sense in my mind why he isn't some sort of singles champion, if not WWE, or he should be in the WWE or Universal Picture Championship as a singles competitor. He's got it all, and I don't know how or why they're using him the way they are on Raw.
I know why.
Well, I think since I'm the only one who watched Raw with most parts muted, Drew McIntyre has kind of hinted at just leaving the Dogs of War because he Claymore kicked on purpose. Actually, once accidentally and the second time on purpose, Braun Strowman because he was about to attack Ziggler, and then just kind of walked off. So possibly a solo run upcoming now. Be happy about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would absolutely have him as my Triple H of this evolution. The young up and comer, the Randy Orton slot, I think I would give to Velveteen Dream.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You win.
Yeah.
You win. We don't even need your other two. No,
I'm
no.
kicking myself for missing that one.
That's
Sorry, Velveteen.
That's
Yeah,
really
I think
good.
that I would-
Wow. Okay.
Gotta go with the hot hand.
Yeah. I really like that a lot because I think he could easily, like, he is that guy where, similar to Randy Orton, you just look at him and you know that he will be a main event guy for many years when it's all said and done. That's perfect. I enjoy that. Who's your powerhouse?
Powerhouse, yeah. That.
Because if McIntyre's not your big guy, you really gotta. I mean, you
Gotta
don't
go
have
big,
to, but
I don't know. And we're sticking to just Raw, SmackDown, and in NXT, right?
either one of
Yeah.
NXT's. Why? Who are you thinking about right now?
Someone outside of WWE completely, so that wouldn't work.
Who, like Martinez?
No. I was thinking Brian Cage, but
Okay,
if we're sticking to just WWE,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
That crossed my mind, but
yeah. But if it's the legend and the powerhouse sticking strictly to WWE. It's kind of hard to think of right now. And I feel like Braun Strowman is too easy to say for the powerhouse slot.
Mhm.
I would want someone else.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Cesaro, and I know he's more powerhouse in terms of performance and strength per pound.
I like that,
but he could kind of be
the other two that I mentioned. Yeah. And if I could have an actual heel John Cena be the legend. I think that's what I would do.
You win
Wow.
again.
Oh,
I
wow.
think that's what I would
a
do.
heel John Cena.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Now you're almost going part NWO, part Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
7.5
good
stars,
stuff.
Chandler.
7.5 stars.
Not
Not a
bad.
5.
Was I in the Tokyo Dome?
Yeah, you must have been. Holy cow. Okay, I like that. Aiden, what are you thinking here, and how do you want to start us off?
I'm going to structure this a tiny bit differently where
Okay.
my legend does not wrestle but does certain spots.
Okay.
I want
That's
my
fair.
I want my legend to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he just does a stunner
What?
every once in a while,
Okay.
like he does. And so my up and comer is EC3 because he's got like the perfect look, just like Randy Orton had at the time. And so then my powerhouse, I'm going with Keith Lee.
Nice.
Because he's a big guy. He could obviously do crazy things just like Batista did early in his run. And then for my Triple H spot, I'm going with somebody in the main roster. I'm going with Finn Balor. 'Cause he obviously got that main event material already, and he deserves to be back in that main event spotlight again. Even though
7.5 stars as well.
I'll take it.
Very
Out
good.
of 5 again.
Yeah, out of that's right.
I'm giving mine 3 because you guys.
I wanted to say HBK and Gargano, but then you said, I was like, well, I got to be different than him.
That's good. And EC3 could work maybe as the powerhouse too. I think ECW could actually work.
ECW?
Did I say ECW?
Yes.
Yeah,
EC3.
EC3.
Sorry, Keith Lee.
ECW.
EC Lee. Yeah, EC Lee. Actually, God, EC3 could be any one of the 3 positions. And especially like kind of how smarmy and wearing the suits Evolution was at times, that I could see him at all 3 of those potential spots. Let's talk a little bit about Becky Lynch. Andre, you are over the moon about where she's at right now. She had a segment on the Cutting Edge.
Well, it's not just me. The entire hate that
Yeah,
I'm saying
I think
this.
you're. I know she's over right now.
WWE Universe.
But you put her in
thinks so,
Stone
too.
Cold category here.
As of
it
right now,
seems.
she kind of is.
I agree.
Because
Stone Cold Becca Lynch.
Okay, if
Edge
you
came out to a huge pop. They loved Edge. And as soon as she turned on Edge, they were 100% behind her. Her promos are just straight fire, pun intended. I mean, her wrestling's great. But I mean, this I don't want to call it heel because the fans love her, but this version of Becky Lynch with this attitude is just so over with the fans right now. I mean, I see people on Twitter saying she could kill someone in the middle of the street and fans would still cheer for her. It's like, and I believe it because every time she comes out, she's probably the most over person on SmackDown.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with all of the feeling, and I understand. I'm definitely on the same page with that as well. And I would say that she is the heel because still in this rivalry that she has going on with Charlotte and the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte is booked as the face and Becky is still being booked as the heel, and she does heelish things. But as Andre said, she's probably the most over thing on SmackDown right now. It's ridiculous.
when you reference Edge's career-ending injury and get a positive reaction for that, you think that would be craziest thing, but it's just what's natural right now. And I saw something like Becky Lynch could go to Montreal, say Brett screwed Brett, and get cheered for it.
Her first heel promos, she
That's funny.
crapped all over the crowd, and they kept
And
cheering.
they love it.
It's funny
Love
that
it.
you mentioned the Montreal Screwjob. We did 1997 on Pop Culture Time Capsule on this past Sunday, which is Sunday nights at
nice.
8 o'clock. So I had so much on my list that I was like, you know what? I could wait to do 1998 and do the Screwjob then because that's when the documentary came out. So I was kind of like going to weasel my way into it. Plus, it's a movie, so it's pop culture. Certainly, I think wrestling is too. Jeff Robbins might disagree, but Jameson's a wrestling guy too. So he, even though he knew I wasn't on my list, he had it at number 5 on his for 1997. So we're talking about the Montreal Screwjob for 5 minutes. Jeff basically falls asleep, and then later in the show he references when we were kind of giving him guff about his list. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have the Toronto Taint Job on my list." Oh my God! And now I can't stop thinking about the Toronto Taint Job and what that is. But I'm sure certain people heard the Montreal Screwjob and were like, "What the hell is going on?" But there you go, the Toronto Taint Job. Okay, is this sustainable for Becky Lynch?
100%. She's crushing it
Are
right now.
you guys being
It's
a little facetious?
No.
The groundswell has been for more over months, but more than that. Even on her losing streak from a year ago, the internet's been kind of behind her, and the crowds on TV are behind her, and I think it is because it has been. It's WWE, so they could possibly screw it up. But even like I said, even as they had her talk trash about the crowd, they were still behind her. That didn't turn them. She talked about Edge's neck injury. Careful you don't hurt your neck going through those ropes. Still didn't get booed. I mean, I think it's sustainable. I think it's sustainable because they've been wanting her to win the championship for so long. And even Charlotte's getting boos. She's getting cheers. She's getting mixed cheers and boos. But not Becky.
Aiden, is this sustainable, and what's next for Becky Lynch?
This is also 100% sustainable. You mention a Hall of Famer's career-ending injury and get cheered for it. That never happens. That never happens, and it happens. So of course it's sustainable. She literally just say anything and get cheered. And as for what's next, I want to see Asuka back in the championship picture because she hasn't even been in the main roster title picture. Well, okay, I'm forgetting WrestleMania, but I want her back into it because after that she has not done anything of substance, and
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It has been even though it has only been since WrestleMania, it actually seems like Asuka kind of has faded into the back a little bit, other than that run up to WrestleMania. But other than that, her time on SmackDown, she's kind of fallen into the crowd a little bit. And I was hoping you'd say that because I think she's the person that I'd like to see, and where Becky is now, she could help elevate Asuka back to where Asuka was at the end of her NXT run, and that could be a good run between those two for a while.
bad because she doesn't even have a singles match at Evolution. She's just part of the Battle Royal. So that's,
Do you guys think Becky and Charlotte should main event Evolution? Because I think it should.
Well, I mean, that is the main match of the card so far because the other contender for the main event is Nikki Bella and Ronda Rousey, which is looking to be mostly a two-match show.
That Battle Royale bothers me that
it's bothering everyone.
They hyped up this pay-per-view so long, and they're just going to put stars in the Battle Royal. Yeah. When we already have a Women's Royal Rumble anyway this year? Doesn't make sense to me.
So WWE Women's Evolution is a week from Sunday. It's October 28th at the Nassau Coliseum. There's been quite a few really good shows at Nassau Coliseum, and WWE used to be there quite a bit because that's their territory. Not as much since, but that is kind of one of the lesser known really good venues for underrated, I guess I could say, for wrestling. Some other stuff from SmackDown 1000. The Bar is your new tag team champions. Big Show helped them out. Do you guys see this being a continued teaming, or is this a one-time thing? And go ahead.
This is kind of a part of what I was referring to earlier about how kind of the pacing of SmackDown 1000 was just kind of weird. It felt, at times it drug on, and at times it felt completely slapped together and rushed, as you guys said, with Undertaker coming out, his promo being one sentence, and the show ending with this. It's just, it felt like they wanted it to be such a big show and wanted it to be such a big moment, but they didn't. It just felt kind of rushed. This makes no sense at all. Why does the Big Show and watching him come out after hearing his music hit and watching him walk down the ramp, it just felt like why is he walking down to the ring during this match? He has zero connection to anyone storyline wise in this matchup, and he comes out to have a heel turn, of course, because it's the Big Show. Okay,
let me ask you this. When he comes out, are you like, oh, it's SmackDown 1000, here's the Big Show, or was it like he's on the roster and this is just weird, or like how did that come across? Was it this is a guest appearance from one of the most important figures of SmackDown history?
It didn't feel like that at all. It felt like an out of place run-in from someone on the roster.
Okay.
Made no sense whatsoever. When his music hit, I thought, okay, he's going to do what I've seen him do on SmackDown in the past after he comes back from an injury. Come to the ring and literally beat up everybody and leave him in a pile. And I was like, okay, this is, I guess it's Big Show. He can do that. It's cool. But the way that he came out and he started to pick up Kofi like he was going to help him, the moment he started picking him up, I'm like, Big Show's about to turn. It's Big Show. They're going to turn him. Sure enough, he gets chokeslammed through the announce table, and it just made no sense whatsoever what his connection was to either of those two teams. And then to come out and have a turn in the middle of the match, and I don't mind that the Bar won, especially on this episode, but just to have, just the Big Show doesn't make sense. It was weird to me too, and that's probably my only complaint. One of my only main complaint from the show is having Big Show involved.
The Big Show has become the strange show. Just coming out of nowhere.
Suppose he didn't do a run-in and he was involved in some sort of segment that
It
actually...
was more of a walk-in. He took his time.
Oh,
6
my
stars.
God. That's good.
He strolled to the ring.
So if he was in something else that made it seem like a special appearance by him, would it made it have less, like, more importance for SmackDown 1000 and less, like, what is he doing here?
If it were like a backstage segment, or like, because they showed a few people throughout the episode kind of backstage. They had like the grouping of all the former GMs and stuff like that.
Hurricane at all?
No
Hurricane?
No Hurricane.
Okay.
But if it was something along those lines, it would have made more sense than what they did.
Or just a match, a quick match, have him squash somebody or something, but it was weird.
Pick your Big Show squash opponent on SmackDown. Who would you like to see him just ruin?
The
Like
Hurricane.
Hornswoggle or Hurricane?
Just have Hurricane come out. Yeah, have Hurricane come out, then he can make an appearance too.
I
Flies
think,
right to a punch.
with it being SmackDown, I think it's got to be James Ellsworth.
Ooh,
I think that'll be
good.
fun. Big Show, James Ellsworth.
That's a good squash
3-minute
opponent.
match, 3 to 5 minutes. That'll be fun.
I like that. That's a good one. Chandler, who do you think? Who do you want to see the Big Show squash on a special episode like that?
I was leaning kind of towards Ellsworth as well for right now. Just even though Ellsworth is obviously more recent, he's an important thing with SmackDown, especially the title SmackDown Live. As far as the history, if you will, of SmackDown Live goes, James Ellsworth is a part of it since it's switched to live. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No,
for this being the 1000th episode, I would totally be okay with seeing Ellsworth have come out. But he did come out at Bound for Glory.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did
he
not
had a
know
match
that.
with Eli Drake.
Holy cow!
Eli Drake had like an open invitation match, and he just had it open to anyone in anywhere. He just had an open match,
and he goes by Ellsworth. He went by James Ellsworth there.
And he went for a Styles Clash. But Eli Drake like reverses out of it and does the what's the move? Kind of like White Noise ish, like that, like the drop, like the driver drop kind of move. But it's
Did they do a dummy? Yeah, duh type of segment or no?
No, I don't think so.
They
I don't think so. They might have. I don't know. That's really the only highlight I saw was him setting up for the Styles Clash and then getting reversed out of it immediately.
Speaking of Ellsworth, he makes more sense on SmackDown than Evolution since they had never once been on SmackDown as a group.
See,
ever.
and that's another thing is they were, when the first brand split happened, I mean, it was all about them on Raw because the brand split put Batista with Devon on SmackDown. Then when Evolution was formed, Batista was on Raw with Evolution. So yeah, that was really weird, which to me I think is another point that they will do Triple H versus Batista, and this is like, oh, here's a good time for us to throw this in the mix for as kind of a carrot on the trail for down the road. So yeah, that is weird now that you point that out, to have Evolution on SmackDown.
And it was with that being said too, it definitely feels like it was more just because of it being SmackDown's 1000th episode and not the history of SmackDown. Just because it was a big episode and they wanted to make it feel bigger and have more prestige, I guess.
No, that makes sense. A few things before we get out of here. AJ and Daniel Bryan feud continues. Any notes on that?
That was my favorite match of the night, was AJ and Daniel Bryan versus the Usos. Fantastic match.
Really?
And
Not Rey Mysterio and Nakamura?
no, I like this match more. the continuation of the storytelling between AJ and Daniel Bryan within the match itself, which had a huge effect on the outcome of the match, was great. And I just thought that I was really surprised that the Usos won the match, and I liked that a lot. So I don't know, it was a good match, and like I said, it was kind of my favorite thing of SmackDown 1000.
The story told in that match was better than the story told in the Shinsuke match, but the Shinsuke match, like, technically was a better wrestling match. But they were both great in my opinion.
And I wasn't downing the Shinsuke and Rey Mysterio match at all.
Aiden, tell us a little bit about Shinsuke and Rey Mysterio.
I guess I just liked it better as a match, and kind of minus the storytelling from both of those matches, where Rey Mysterio obviously in great form since he was doing so good on the indies and hasn't lost a single step, and Nakamura is still good, even though his U.S. title run is still weird.
Kind of stagnant, but it's the U.S. title.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Get rid of that title. I really think they got to get rid of that title. Nakamura for Japan, a guy that would be great in the international World
absolutely.
Cup. Right?
Oh my God, how do we not think about that?
Yeah, we didn't even think about Japan. They had that fella from China also a couple of years ago in the Cruiserweight Classic. There's is it Loon? I can't think of his.
Wasn't it like Ho Ho Loon or something
Loon.
like that?
Ho Ho Loon. There you go. Yeah.
Can we take out Jinder and add Great Khali?
Nope. Absolutely not. Why would
I'm
you
kidding.
even
I
bring
love
that up?
Jinder. I just wanted to.
I'll take the injured Singh. I'll take the Singh who.
He's actually back. He actually came back on Raw.
Some of his workout
anymore.
stuff, I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
He got ripped.
Mm-hmm. He really did.
Unreal. Okay, well, that does it for the show. Catch us on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and get caught up on demand on YouTube. Search at the Schmozcast.
All right. For Aiden, Andre, and Chandler, I'm Anthony signing out.
Listening to 103.5 The Sun Community Radio, WLSP LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.